John here again, and today we're going to talk about Review, Escape from New York, which stars Kurt Russell and directed by John Carpenter. And it was great to go back and revisit this film again. It's definitely a classic. And when you talk about John Carpenter, he is my favorite director. He's directed so many great films, and I was trying to think, okay, if I had to place this among my favorites, where would I put this film? And now for me, there's ones that I prefer more, like The Thing I prefer a little bit more. Big Trouble in Little China, which is right behind me, because Jack Burton's always watching. I would say that's my favorite John Carpenter film and my favorite Kurt Russell film. And, other films, like Halloween, In the Mouth of Madness, Escape from LA, which is fun, and I'll be reviewing that next. I could say probably this would go my top 7. And I know a lot of Carpenter fans might disagree. For them, this film is a top 3 when you talk about their favorite John Carpenter films. And again, it's still a great movie. It's still a classic. But again, there's other ones that I prefer a little bit more, that I watch a little bit more. But again, when you talk about this film, John Carpenter does a great job directing, and especially this cast. It's really cool, like when you look at this cast of all the names, of course, Kurt Russell, but, Lee Van Cleef, Ernest Borgnine, Donald Pleasance, Isaac Hayes, Harry Dean Stanton, Adrienne Barbeau. You have a great ensemble here, a great powerhouse cast. But to talk about the story real quick, so let's talk about the plot. Talking about the plot here, the world is ravaged by crime, and the entire island of Manhattan is converted into this walled prison, where prisoners roam within the city. And one day, the U.S. president, played by Donald Pleasance, crash lands inside the city, and only one man can bring him back. And that's this notorious outlaw and former Special Forces war hero, Snake Plissken, or Call Me Snake. He has to go in and get out the president, but time is short. In 24 hours, an explosive device implanted in his neck will end Snake's mission and his life unless he succeeds in bringing back the president. And that's the plot here to this film. Now, again, John Carpenter directed the film. He also wrote the film with Nick Castle. Now, to provide a little bit of info there, Carpenter, he wrote the film in the mid-'70s in reaction to the Watergate scandal. After the success of Halloween, he had enough influence to begin production and start filming mainly in St. Louis, Missouri, on an estimated budget of $6 million. Deborah Hill and Larry Franco served as producers. The film was co-written by Nick Castle, who had collaborated with Carpenter by portraying Michael Myers in Halloween. The film came out July 10th of 1981, and it received, positive reviews from the critics, and it was a commercial success, grossing more than $25 million at the box office. Now, for the role of Snake Plissken, Carpenter wanted Kurt Russell, but the film's financial backer preferred either Charles Bronson or Tom Lee Jones to play the role of Snake. But at the time, Kurt Russell, he was trying to overcome this image, conveyed by his roles in early, Disney comedies, because, sometimes people forget Kurt Russell was a Disney star. He was a child star, had done some Disney films back in the day, so he was trying to, shake off that image. And, Carpenter refused to work with Charles Bronson, on the grounds that he was too old. And, he was worried that he would lose control over the picture, with an experienced actor. And, Russell at the time, he described his character as a mercenary, and his style of fighting is a combination of Bruce Lee, the Exterminator, and Darth Vader, with Eastwood's vocalness. And Kurt Russell, he went on a diet and exercise program to develop a, lean and muscular build. And he also, stayed in character between takes and throughout the shooting, as he welcomed, the opportunity to get away from, again, the Disney comedies he had done way back. And he did find it necessary to remove the eye patch between takes because wearing it constantly seriously affected his depth perception. But yeah, again, really interesting information. But yeah, John Carpenter does a great job directing. He really brings a grungy and gritty feel, to the film, developing this future, and creating this environment for Snake, to run around in. And while he's trying to get to the president, you have all these crazies coming out of the woodwork, trying to stop Snake. But yeah, I mean, that's all John Carpenter and the great, John Carpenter score, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. Now, talking about the cast, Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken, or Call Me Snake. Yeah, he definitely commands the screen here. Such a badass character, especially with the eye patch. That just makes it even more iconic. And, the wardrobe and the tattoo underneath. And, yeah, such a great character. And, again, he's badass. You also have Lee Van Cleef in the film as Hawk, Commissioner Bob Hawk. Lee Van Cleef, I thought he was good in the movie. Good support. Ernest Borgnine as Cabby. A fun character, that Snake meets along the way. And, you would see that character in the beginning, and then when he'll come back later. But again, it was cool to see Ernest Borgnine in there. You also have Donald Pleasance as the president. I mean, you can't get better than that. Donald Pleasance definitely brings a touch of class to this cast here. He had worked with, John Carpenter in Halloween, and, he does such a great job as the president. And yeah, so I'm a big Donald Pleasance fan. Isaac Hayes as our villain in the film, who's the Duke of New York, and he's this crime boss. And yeah, Isaac Hayes, he definitely brings this, icy cool factor, as a villain. And again, a good villain here, to Snake. Everyone feared the Duke. The Duke is number one. But also, you have Harry Dean Stanton in the film. Just before this, Harry Dean Stanton was an alien. In this film, he plays Brain, which, Snake, keeps calling him Harold. But, a good character in the movie, good support. Adrienne Barbeau, she plays Maggie. And, yeah, I think just a year before, she had done The Fog, with John Carpenter. See, that's another great Carpenter movie. Like, again, that's another favorite of mine. I love The Fog. But, Adrienne Barbeau, again, good support. Tom Atkins as the captain. Yeah, Tom Atkins, he's good in here. The only thing I would say with Tom Atkins is that he's not in it enough. Like, I wish that Tom Atkins was in the film a little bit more. In fact, I might even say this, and I know, this might sound a little bit crazy here. And while Lee Van Cleef, again, he does a good job in the film. I wonder if he had took Tom Atkins and have him play that role. Again, I'm not saying that Lee Van Cleef is bad or anything, but, I'm such a fan of Tom Atkins, and I kind of wish that, he was in this film a little bit more. Looking back, I'm like, what if he had Tom Atkins, play that Hawk character? Because, again, Tom Atkins is still good here, but I kind of wish that, maybe it's that, bias a little bit, being such a fan, but I wish that he had more, screen time. But again, that's just a small nitpick. You also have, Charles Cyphers in the film. This one character, Ramiro, the guy with the hair that works for the Duke. He's played by Frank Doubleday. And, it's a little bit sad when you look back at this cast, because a lot of this cast is now gone. I mean, Kurt Russell's still around, but Lee Van Cleef has passed. Ernest Borgnine, Donald Pleasance, Isaac Hayes, Harry Dean Stanton, Adrian Barbeau's still around, thank God. Tom Atkins is still around. And the guy that played Ramiro, Frank Doubleday, he's passed away. It's just, again, it's sad in a way because, again, such great talent here in this cast and a great ensemble, with Kurt Russell, in the lead. And again, he commands the screen. And you have great supporting players here. And again, it's just a little bit sad that, a lot of this talent here is no longer with us. But, again, great cast. And again, I have to mention the score. John Carpenter's score is definitely iconic here. I would say it's definitely one of my favorite John Carpenter scores. I mean, I love the score in The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, I was already pointing that way because I love that film. I love the score for that film. I love the score for The Thing. But yeah, this, the music here, the score, more so, again, is very iconic. And Carpenter, definitely one of my favorite composers too. It really adds to the pace of the film. It really adds to the action and, the look of the film, the texture, whatever you want to use, the location. I mean, everything, even though, it's a film that came out in 1981. I mean, I know some people kind of make fun of that sometimes about, films back then that take place in the future. Like, oh, this takes place in, 2000 whatever, but it's still 80s. But I really appreciate that. I mean, I like that, style at the time. But again, it's all John Carpenter. I love, the score. I love the look of the city. I love the look of the future. That it's not clean. It's very grungy. It's gritty. It's dark. And, the character of Snake Plissken's badass. So, yeah, again, credit to the score, credit to the look of the film and the texture of, the movie, the city environment. But again, with Snake Plissken, he has a short amount of time to get back to president, so he's going from location to location within Manhattan. I mean, even, when he lands on top of the World Trade Center, that was pretty cool. And, he's going down, and once he's on the streets, he meets some interesting characters, but there's also characters that are trying to stop him. And again, the way the streets looked, and, it's ravaged, by crime. And yeah, I mean, again, I just really, I really loved, that environment. And again, that's all John Carpenter in his style. And apparently this film, what I found out recently, and I don't know if this is true or not, but, the game Deus Ex, The Conspiracy, for people that know that game, big fan of that game, apparently this was an influence on that. Yeah, that game was influenced by Escape from New York, and again, I didn't know that until recently, and whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. Now, as far as the Blu-ray here, this is the collector's edition, so it is a 2-disc. On the first one, you have a new 2K scan of the inner positive struck from the original negative, new audio commentary with actress Adrian Barbeau and director of photography Dean Cundey. You have a commentary by John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. Audio commentary with the producer, Deborah Hill, and production designer, Joe Alves. And on the bonus features disc, you have a new look at the special visual effects, including interviews with Dennis Skotak, Robert Skotak, and more. New interview with still photographer. And you got some deleted scenes up here. Return to Escape from New York featurette. You got some trailers, photo galleries, and more. So yeah, it's a good special, collector's edition. And it does have the original poster in case if you want to flip the cover, flip the cover. But yeah, I mean, what more can you say about this film? Again, it's a classic. It's a John Carpenter classic. And it's timeless. So that's my review of Escape from New York. Thank you for watching, and next I'll be reviewing Escape from LA. So thank you for watching, and have a good day.